to explore some timeless Zen stories that have helped people find peace and relaxation for centuries. The room around you is soft and still now. Maybe there's a faint hum of a fan or the steady rhythm of night crickets outside your window. Light glows faintly, like a lantern dimmed low, wrapping the space in comfort. Your breath rises and falls, unhurried. And if your mind has been busy, carrying too many heavy thoughts, this is the moment to let them begin to drift. In our busy lives, it's easy to forget that calm isn't out there. It's already yours to uncover. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you'd like, post your location and the local time in the comments. It's always beautiful to see this circle of listeners across the world, connected through these quiet hours. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Lanterns on the river. This is an old image often used in Zen, and it carries the essence of detachment. Imagine standing on the bank at night, a gentle current moving past. One by one, small paper lanterns are set afloat, each holding a candle. They drift away, their light mirrored in the water. No one rushes to grab them. They are meant to drift, meant to leave sight. Our thoughts and emotions can be treated in the same way. We often grip them tightly, replaying what we should have said, worrying about what may come, clinging to what has already passed. But what if instead we set them gently on the river of awareness and let them drift? A Zen story tells of a monk who was asked how he managed his worries. He smiled and said, "I give them to the river. By morning, they've gone to sea." He did not mean he literally threw his concerns into water. He meant he practiced allowing thoughts to move instead of trapping them in his mind. Here is something you can do tonight, right where you are. As you breathe, picture a lantern in your hands. On the inhale, imagine placing a worry into it. On the exhale, set it gently on the water. Whisper softly in your mind, "I release you." With each breath, a lantern drifts away until the river glows, carrying your burdens into the distance. A quirky Zen practice, sometimes seen during festivals, is the actual release of paper lanterns into rivers or lakes. Entire communities gather, each lantern carrying a prayer or a letting go. Watching them float away under moonlight, people are reminded that life itself flows like that, beautiful, brief, and always moving. And a reflective question comes to mind. What would happen if you stopped trying to chase every lantern? What if peace came not from holding on, but from trusting the current to carry what no longer belongs in your hands. Picture it now. A wide river under the stars, lanterns gliding silently, their reflections like fireflies on the surface. The night is calm. The water moves steadily forward. You stand at the bank, lighter with each release. In time, only stillness remains in your chest and the soft glow of peace in your mind. In a quiet monastery, a young monk once had a favorite bowl. It was simple, clay, unadorned, but he polished it daily, careful not to chip it. One evening, as he washed it by lantern light, it slipped from his hands. The sound of clay shattering echoed across the hall. For a moment, his chest tightened. He thought, "How could I be so careless?" Yet his teacher, hearing the noise, stepped in and said gently, "The bowl was already broken the day you received it." Tonight only revealed the truth. The teaching is clear. Nothing we cling to can last. Our possessions, our roles, even our bodies, they are all subject to change. When we resist this truth, we suffer. But when we accept it, peace settles in. Think of how often negative energy builds from this refusal to accept change. A phone screen cracks. A plan falls through. Someone fails to meet expectations. The anger or sadness grows not just from the event itself, but from the belief that it shouldn't have happened. The broken bowl reminds us, everything is already fragile. To hold things gently is to rest more deeply. There's a quirky practice in some Zen communities where broken bowls or cups are not discarded right away. They're placed on a shelf for a while, as if bowing to impermanence. Some even repair them with gold in a practice known in Japanese culture as kintsugi, highlighting the break instead of hiding it. The crack becomes part of the story, not something to erase. In the same way, our own cracks, our tiredness, our disappointments can be held as part of our life's beauty. Try this as a small practice tonight. Bring to mind something you're holding tightly, maybe an expectation of someone, maybe a memory, maybe a desire for tomorrow to go perfectly. Inhale and imagine it as a clay bowl in your hands. Exhale and imagine placing it gently on the ground, bowing to it. Whisper inwardly, "It may break," and that's okay. Notice how your chest softens when you accept its fragility. A Zen master might ask, what if every precious thing you hold is already broken, already passing? Would you grip it so tightly? Or would you savor its presence with more tenderness, knowing it cannot last forever? Picture this. a long wooden hall at night, silent except for the wind brushing the eaves. On a low table sits the broken bowl, shards arranged neatly. Moonlight spills across them, turning the cracks silver. Instead of sadness, the scene holds stillness, as if the bowl has simply changed form. The monk breathes deeply, realizing the bowl's lesson is more valuable than the bowl itself. In modern life, we often chase durability, stronger phones, better locks, endless backups. But nothing is truly unbreakable. The more we resist this, the more fragile we feel ourselves. The practice of detachment isn't about discarding joy or refusing care. It's about loosening the grip so we can rest, knowing change will come. So tonight, remember the broken bowl. Rest your thoughts gently, like objects on a table. Know they may change, fade, or break, and that this is part of their nature. In acceptance, the heart feels lighter, free to breathe deeply, free to sleep peacefully. Echoes in the cave remind us how easily our own energy comes back to us. Imagine stepping into a mountain cave at dusk. The air is cool, the stone walls damp with mist. You call out, and your voice bounces back, repeated softer each time until silence swallows it whole. If you shout with anger, the cave returns anger. If you whisper with kindness, the cave echoes kindness. The cave is not choosing what to give you. It only returns what you send. Detachment begins with this realization. Much of the negative energy we feel is an echo of what we project. When we cling to anger, it circles back, louder, pressing against our chest. When we insist on control, resistance echoes back as frustration. The Buddha's teaching of cause and effect comes alive in this simple truth. Our inner world shapes what we experience. A Zen story tells of a traveler who complained endlessly about how unfriendly a village was. Another traveler, coming from the same place, spoke of its warmth and kindness. When asked why their experiences were so different, an old man explained, "The village is like a cave. It gives back what you bring into it." The parable is clear. The world reflects the state of the heart. Here is a practice for tonight. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a vast cave. Inhale deeply, and on your exhale, whisper inwardly, "Peace." Wait, and hear the cave return. "Peace, peace." Inhale again, and this time whisper, "Let go." The cave sends it back, softer, lighter. Repeat, allowing the echoes to replace the noise of your day. One quirky Zen exercise echoes this teaching literally. Monks sometimes chant single words into temple halls just to hear how sound changes in the space. The fading echoes are reminders that all energy, words, actions, even thoughts, ripple outward, then return. When they chant calm, the hall returns calm. When they chant emptiness, silence deepens after the final note. You can use this same idea at night. Let your mind echo words of release instead of words of tension. A reflective question arises. What are you sending into your cave tonight? Are your thoughts sharp and restless, destined to return that way? Or could you soften them, whispering gentleness so the echoes bring you rest? Picture yourself standing at the cave mouth, moonlight spilling in. You call out softly, not to be heard, but to listen. The sound returns like a lullaby, fading with each repetition until only stillness remains. The stone walls no longer feel heavy. They feel protective, holding your echoes and dissolving them back into quiet. Modern life often acts like a cave of endless echoes. The more we complain, the more complaints seem to surround us. The more we grip resentment, the more it seems to press back. But detachment teaches us to stop shouting and start listening. In silence, the cave offers its deepest gift, peace. So tonight, if your thoughts feel loud, remember the cave. Breathe. Whisper something gentle, and let the echoes return it softer each time. In this way, detachment becomes not cold or distant, but tender, like hearing your own voice lull you to sleep. Butterfly Over the Garden is a story about beauty and the suffering that comes when we try to trap what is meant to be free. In the warm quiet of an old monastery garden, a monk once watched a butterfly drift from flower to flower. Its wings caught the morning light, flashing orange and gold. For a moment, he reached out, tempted to capture it in his hands, to hold the beauty closer. But he stopped, realizing that the act of grasping would crush the very wings he admired. The butterfly's gift was in its freedom, not in possession. Detachment often feels difficult because we confuse it with indifference. But this story shows the opposite. True appreciation requires detachment. To let beauty be without trying to claim it is to see it clearly. The Buddha taught that clinging is the root of much suffering. Noticing a butterfly without clinging is a simple way of practicing release. Think about how often negative energy builds when we refuse to let moments pass. A compliment replayed until it fades. A memory clutched until it sours. A worry repeated until it grows. Holding too tightly turns sweetness into tension. Detachment allows joy to land softly, like a butterfly resting for a moment before moving on. A Zen tale tells of a painter asked to capture the spirit of butterflies. Instead of pinning them, he sat quietly in a meadow for years, watching. His scrolls showed not still images, but the motion of wings, the spaces between flowers, the fleeting nature of flight. When asked why he never caught one, he replied, "Because the beauty is in the moment, not the possession." Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, picturing a butterfly landing gently on your palm. Exhale, imagining it lifting off, drifting into the air. Whisper inwardly, "Thank you. Go free." Repeat until your body feels lighter, as though you've released a thought you once gripped too tightly. One quirky practice among some monks is to sit silently in gardens, not meditating in the traditional sense, but simply observing insects and flowers. They do not interfere, do not gather, do not arrange. They only witness. This stillness becomes a mirror of detachment. Nothing is held, yet everything is appreciated. A reflective question arises. What in your life are you trying to hold like a butterfly in your fist? Would the beauty shine more brightly if you opened your hand and let it fly? Picture yourself walking slowly through a night garden. Lanterns hang low, their glow soft on petals. A butterfly glides silently past, wings brushing the air. You don't chase it, you don't hold it. You simply smile as it disappears into the dark. The peace comes not from owning the moment, but from letting it be. Modern life often urges us to capture everything. Photos, trophies, constant records. But detachment whispers, beauty doesn't need to be trapped. It lives fully in its passing. So tonight, if your mind clings, imagine the butterfly. Hold it gently for a breath, then let it go. Watch it drift into the quiet, carrying your tension with its wings. The old gatekeeper is a figure often found in Zen parables. Picture him at the monastery gates, leaning on his staff at dusk. Lantern light flickers across the worn wood, and the gate creaks softly as the night breeze moves it. His task is not to slam the door against visitors, nor to fling it open recklessly, but to watch with calm awareness. He knows who to let in, who to greet, and when to simply smile and step aside. This image becomes a teaching about the mind. Thoughts and emotions approach us like travelers at a gate. Some are weary, but harmless. Some are loud, demanding attention. Some bring trouble if welcomed too long. The gatekeeper's wisdom is not in blocking everything, nor in embracing everything blindly, but in awareness, meeting each visitor with presence and deciding gently how to respond. Detachment, in this sense, is not shutting out life. It is being a wise gatekeeper. Anger may approach. You bow, acknowledge it, and watch it pass. A joyful thought arrives. You welcome it with tea. Then let it leave when it's ready. The suffering comes when we cling to one traveler or push too harshly against another. A Zen story tells of a monk who was made gatekeeper for a year. He complained that it was boring, standing all day by the same wooden doors. His teacher said, "When you learn to watch the gate without boredom, you will understand your mind." By the year's end, he had discovered calm in simply noticing who came and went. Here is a practice for tonight. As you lie still, picture yourself standing at the gate of your mind. Inhale, noticing a thought approaching, perhaps a worry, perhaps a memory. Exhale, bow to it, and whisper inwardly, "I see you." Then let it pass without chasing it down the road. Repeat until you feel more like the gatekeeper than the travelers. One quirky Zen exercise involves monks literally practicing at gates, bowing to everyone who enters, from fellow monks to stray dogs. The bow is not to approve or reject, but to acknowledge. This ritual trains the mind to meet every visitor, human or mental, with dignity before letting them continue on their way. A reflective question arises. What if your mind didn't have to shut its gates to be free? Could the act of welcoming, bowing, and releasing be enough to keep peace? Picture yourself now at a temple entrance under a starry sky. The gate is open, the night air cool. Visitors come and go, faces you know, feelings you've carried. You bow, smile, and let them move on. The night remains still, the temple calm, your heart unburdened. Modern life often teaches us to guard too harshly, block out pain, distract from sadness, close down when hurt. But Zen reminds us that being a good gatekeeper means staying open without being overwhelmed. So tonight, if thoughts arrive at your door, don't fight them and don't follow them. Stand calmly at the gate, bow, smile, and let them pass. Raindrops on lotus leaves offer a perfect image of detachment. In the stillness of a temple pond, rain begins to fall. Each drop lands on the wide green leaves, forming perfect beads of water, that shimmer like pearls. Instead of soaking in, they roll gently across the surface and fall back into the pond. The lotus is not harmed, nor does it cling. It receives the rain, then lets it go. Detachment does not mean avoiding experiences. It means learning to let them pass through without sticking. Negative energy often feels like rain on the heart. Criticism, regret, worry, or fear. When we cling, those drops soak in, heavy and cold. But if we meet them like lotus leaves, they rest for a moment, then slide away, leaving no stain. A Zen story tells of a monk who was asked how he managed to remain calm in the face of insults. He replied, "I am like the lotus leaf." The words fall, but they do not stay. The lesson is simple. We cannot stop the rain, but we can change how we receive it. Here is a practice for tonight. As you inhale, picture a lotus leaf wide and steady in your chest. As you exhale, imagine a worry landing on it, forming into a bead. Watch it glisten for a moment, then roll off, returning to the water below. Whisper inwardly, "I let it go." Repeat, letting each breath turn heaviness into drops that slide away. The quirky Zen element here is monks sitting quietly by lotus ponds, sometimes in rain, listening to drops roll across the leaves. The sound itself becomes meditation, small taps followed by silence. They remind themselves that even raindrops cannot stay forever. You too can imagine that rhythm tonight. Tap, pause, release. A reflective question arises. What would happen if you stopped trying to block the rain and instead allowed each drop to pass naturally? Could peace come from letting life touch you without soaking you through? Picture yourself sitting beside a still pond at dusk. Lanterns glow faintly, reflecting in the water. Rain falls softly, pattering on lotus leaves. Drops form, shine, and slip away. No leaf is burdened, no drop remains. The pond accepts everything, yet holds nothing. You breathe with it, lighter each moment. Modern life often insists we hold everything, every word, every task, every memory. But Zen shows us the lotus leaf, touched by the world, yet unstained. So tonight, when heaviness comes, imagine your heart as the leaf. Let each drop roll gently away until only calm water and moonlight remain. Section 7. The Weaver's Loom offers a quiet metaphor for how thoughts form stories that can entangle us. In an old village, a monk once visited a weaver who spent his days guiding threads back and forth across a wooden frame. With each motion, a pattern appeared, sometimes simple, sometimes elaborate. The monk asked, "How do you keep from being lost in so many strands?" The weaver smiled and said, "I remember that none of them belong to me. I only watch them cross." Our minds work like looms. Each thought is a thread. Anger, memory, worry, hope. Left alone, a single strand cannot harm us. But when we keep weaving them together, clinging to one and tying it to another, a fabric forms, heavy, tangled, difficult to set down. Detachment means pausing before weaving every thought into a story. It means noticing a thread, appreciating its color, then letting it drift without binding it to the next. A Zen teaching tells of a monk who said his greatest discovery was this: not every thread needs weaving. He learned to sit in silence, letting thoughts pass without stitching them together. Over time, his mind felt lighter, as though the loom had slowed, giving him space to breathe. Here is a practice for tonight. As you inhale, picture a single thread appearing before you, glowing softly. As you exhale, see it drift away, unbound. Whisper inwardly, "Not every thread." Repeat until your thoughts feel more like passing colors than a tangled cloth. One quirky Zen exercise is to meditate while actually weaving or knitting, but with no concern for the result. Some monks create pieces only to unravel them later, reminding themselves that the point is presence, not permanence. You might imagine this tonight, your thoughts forming and unforming, harmless as threads on a loom. A reflective question arises. What fabric are you weaving with your thoughts right now? Is it a pattern you want to carry, or one you could allow to unravel? Picture yourself sitting by a loom in a quiet hall. Threads hang loosely, glowing in lantern light. Some cross, some drift away. No rush, no design to finish. Just the rhythm of weaving and unweaving, like the rise and fall of your breath. The fabric of tension begins to loosen, strand by strand. Modern life often urges us to weave endlessly, tying every thought into a plan, every worry into a story, every emotion into an identity. But detachment reminds us, not every strand needs to be held. Some can simply pass. So tonight, if your mind feels tangled, pause and see the threads. Let some drift. Rest in the space between patterns. And notice how light your chest feels when you don't weave every thought into cloth. The empty stage is a lesson about roles we cling to and how they shape our suffering. Imagine a wooden stage after the play is over. The lanterns are dimmed The audience has left. The costumes are folded away. What felt so real? Arguments shouted, loves declared, battles fought, was only performance. The stage remains silent and open, waiting for the next story. Life can feel the same. We play many roles: child, parent, partner, worker, friend. Each role brings duties, joys, and conflicts. But when we cling too tightly, we forget that the stage is larger than any performance. We suffer when we cannot step out of character, even after the curtain falls. Detachment is remembering that the stage of awareness is always there, bigger than any script we've been given. A Zen story tells of a master who visited a traveling theater. After the play, he walked onto the empty stage and bowed. When asked why, he said, "Because this emptiness holds every story, yet is bound by none." The master knew the stage was like the mind, able to host joy, sorrow, anger, or laughter, yet never becoming any of them. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagining yourself on a stage, still wearing today's costume, perhaps the role of worker, or problem solver, or caretaker. Exhale, picturing yourself removing the costume, setting it gently aside. Whisper inwardly, "I am more than this role." Repeat until your body feels lighter, as if the day's performance has ended. One quirky Zen practice is for monks to sometimes swap tasks unexpectedly. Cooks become sweepers, sweepers become gardeners, so no one identifies too tightly with a single role. It is a way of remembering that each task is temporary, like a scene in a play. A reflective question arises. What role are you still clinging to tonight, even though its scene has ended? Could you rest more deeply if you allowed the stage to clear? Picture yourself sitting in an empty theater at night. The stage is bare, the air still. Dust motes drift through the last shaft of light. You breathe, realizing the silence holds more truth than any performance. The characters dissolve, but the stage remains steady and calm. Modern life often pushes us to live as if the performance never ends. Emails answered late into the night, identities carried into sleep. But Zen whispers, "Let the stage empty." The silence between acts is just as important as the play itself. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine stepping off the stage. Leave the roles behind, bow to the emptiness, and rest in the quiet theater of your own being. The bridge without footprints is a koan, a riddle-like teaching that points beyond logic. Imagine a narrow wooden bridge stretching over a quiet stream. People cross it every day, yet when you look down, there are no footprints. The water flows, the wood weathers, but nothing permanent remains. The bridge serves its purpose, yet carries no trace of those who passed. Our lives are filled with bridges, moments, conversations, choices. We walk across them, sometimes with joy, sometimes with fear. But detachment reminds us that each crossing is temporary. We don't need to carry every footprint of the past on our backs. When we cling to regrets or replay old arguments, it's as if we carve deep marks into the bridge, refusing to let it be what it is, a path meant only for passing. A Zen story tells of a master who asked his students, "What is the most important step on a journey?" They debated. First step, last step, longest step. The master shook his head and said, "The one you are taking now." He wanted them to see that every crossing is complete in itself, leaving no trace once it's done. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagining yourself standing at the start of a bridge. Exhale, take a slow step forward in your mind. Whisper inwardly, "Just this step." Continue with your breath, step by step, until the far shore feels near. Then look back. The bridge is empty. No footprints remain. A quirky Zen practice is walking meditation in sand gardens or along paths of soft moss. Monks walk slowly enough to leave barely any mark at all. By the time they return, the breeze has erased their tracks. It's a reminder that life moves forward without clinging to past impressions. A reflective question arises. If your bridge leaves no footprints, why carry the weight of every step? Could peace come from allowing the past to vanish, like marks in water? Picture yourself walking under moonlight. A wooden bridge stretches across a stream, lanterns glowing faintly at its posts. You step softly, hearing the creak of wood beneath you. Behind you, nothing remains. No imprint, no shadow. Ahead, only the gentle path forward. The stream flows steadily, carrying away all traces of what once was. Modern life often convinces us that we must preserve everything. Photos, records, endless reminders. Yet Zen shows us the bridge, walked upon, useful but unmarked. Its beauty lies in the fact that nothing clings to it. So tonight, as you rest, imagine your day as a bridge. Each moment was a step. Each step is already gone. Let the footprints vanish into stillness, and let your heart find rest in the freedom of no trace. The teacup, already broken, is a story often told to remind us of the freedom that comes with acceptance. A Zen master once showed his students a porcelain cup he used every day. It was plain, chipped at the rim, but he cradled it with care. "To me," he said, "this cup is already broken. Because I know that, I enjoy it fully when I drink. I appreciate the sunlight on its surface, the sound when I set it down, the warmth it carries. And when one day it shatters, I will not be surprised." This teaching is not about carelessness. It is about resting more deeply in the present by remembering nothing lasts. When we see things as already passing, we stop clinging so tightly. We can smile while they are here, instead of grieving when they are gone. Think of how much heaviness comes from pretending permanence exists. A beloved object cracks. A relationship changes. A season ends. And we resist. But if we lived like the master with his cup, we would taste joy more vividly while it lasts, and let go more gently when it leaves. Here is a practice for tonight. As you inhale, bring to mind something you treasure. Perhaps a person, a memory, or a small comfort. As you exhale, whisper inwardly, "Already passing." Let this soften your grip, not with sadness, but with appreciation. Notice how much lighter the heart feels when it does not demand forever. One quirky Zen ritual involves monks drinking tea from simple cups, often uneven or worn. The point is not the tea itself, but the awareness that each sip cannot be repeated. That cup, that taste, that moment, gone as soon as it arrives. Instead of lamenting, they bow to it. You can try this in your imagination. Bow to each breath, each passing thought. As if it were tea you'll never sip again. A reflective question arises. What if every beautiful thing in your life is already broken in time? Would you cling harder? Or would you soften, smile, and savor more? Picture yourself in a quiet room. A small porcelain cup rests before you, lantern light glowing off its surface. You lift it, sip, and set it down. In your heart, you know it may break tomorrow. And because of that, the taste tonight feels deeper, richer, more alive. Modern life often pushes us to preserve, back up files, save photos, secure belongings. Yet even the strongest vault cannot stop impermanence. Zen invites us instead to drink deeply now, knowing each moment is fragile. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, treat this breath like the teacup. It will pass, but for now, it is warm, steady, precious. Whisper, "Already passing." And let that reminder bring peace instead of fear. The traveler in the fog reminds us that clarity doesn't always come all at once. Imagine walking a mountain path at dawn, mist curling thick around the trees. You cannot see the whole trail, only a few feet ahead. Yet with each careful step, the next patch of ground reveals itself. You don't need the entire view to keep moving. You only need trust in the step you're taking now. Detachment means loosening our grip on certainty. Much of our stress comes from wanting to know the whole story before it unfolds. How tomorrow's meeting will go, how a relationship will change, how the future will look in 5 years. But life is more like a foggy path, one step revealed at a time. When we demand to see everything, fear rises. When we accept the fog, peace enters. A Zen story tells of a farmer who fretted about the weather. He wanted to know if rain would come next week, next month, next year. An old monk said gently, "The rain tells you only when it falls. Until then, step, breathe, and tend the soil you see." The farmer learned that peace came from attention to the present, not prediction of the future. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, picturing yourself on a misty trail, only the next step visible. Exhale, whisper inwardly, just this step. Repeat, letting go of the need to see beyond what is given in the moment. One quirky Zen tradition is to walk slowly in mist or light rain without umbrellas, robes damp, steps steady. The monks say, "The fog is the teacher." By moving calmly in uncertainty, they practice trust and patience. A reflective question arises. What if the peace you long for is already here, hidden in the fog? Would you need the whole path? Or would this single step be enough? Picture yourself on a narrow bridge in the mist. Lanterns glow faintly, their halos blurred. You take one step, then another, the ground firm beneath you. Behind you, the path disappears into fog. Ahead, only the next step shines. And still, you are moving, safe. Modern life often demands maps, predictions, endless certainty. But Zen invites you to walk into the mist. The unknown does not need to be conquered. It can be trusted, step by step. So tonight, as your mind races with what-ifs, return to the traveler in the fog. Breathe softly, whisper, just this step, and rest deeply in the gentle trust of the moment. The silent drum carries a curious teaching. Not every noise needs to be made, and not every story needs to be told. In one Zen tale, a monastery kept a great drum for ceremonies. Over time, its skin wore thin until it could no longer sound. The abbot ordered it to remain in the hall, even though it was silent. Students wondered why. The abbot explained, "This drum teaches more now than it did when it was loud. It reminds us the silence itself can speak. Detachment is like that silent drum. We often feel the urge to strike every thought, to voice every complaint, to answer every conflict. Yet each strike sends vibrations that return to us. Some situations require a sound, but many are better left unstruck. Choosing silence can be an act of freedom. Think of how often negative energy lingers because we feed it with words, arguing in our minds, rehearsing conversations that never happen, replaying offenses. Each strike keeps the echo alive. But when we set the sticks down, the hall grows peaceful. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine holding drumsticks in your hands. Exhale, picture yourself laying them gently beside the silent drum. Whisper inwardly, not every sound. Repeat, allowing your mind to rest in the hush that follows restraint. A quirky Zen exercise involves monks sitting in a hall with instruments, drums, bells, flutes, and agreeing not to play them. They sit for hours, letting the weight of silence build until they realize that music also lives in stillness. You can imagine yourself in such a hall now, surrounded by instruments, none struck, yet all contributing to the quiet. A reflective question arises. What if peace isn't in expressing every thought, but in letting some remain unspoken? Could your rest deepen if you allowed silence to be your response? Picture yourself in a temple at night. The drum sits tall, its skin pale in lantern light. You sit before it, hearing only your own breath. The silence feels heavy at first, then soft, then luminous. You realize the absence of sound is a sound of its own, a sound that calms. Modern life often insists that every thought be shared instantly, every opinion posted, every sound amplified. But Zen suggests another way, the silent drum speaking loudly without being struck. So tonight, when a thought presses to be voiced, try laying down the sticks. Let the silence be the answer. And notice how the quiet, like a lullaby, carries you into rest. Lantern moths swirl around light in the night, a picture of desire that never finds rest. In a Zen garden, monks sometimes watch the moths drawn to lanterns during summer evenings. The insects circle again and again, wings brushing the heat, desperate for closeness to the flame. Some burn themselves, others grow too exhausted to fly away. Their endless circling shows what happens when craving pulls us towards something we cannot truly possess. Detachment here doesn't mean rejecting beauty or joy. It means not losing ourselves in the circling. Desire can be sweet, but if we cling too tightly, it drains us. The more we chase, the more restless we become. True freedom is found in appreciating the lantern's glow without needing to throw ourselves against it. A Zen story tells of a monk who compared himself to a moth in his youth, always chasing pleasures, always scorched by the fire. Later in life, he said, I learned that I, too, could sit and enjoy the glow without flying into it. The story is a reminder that we can choose stillness instead of exhaustion. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, picturing a lantern glowing gently in the dark. Exhale, imagine moths circling, then settling quietly on the ground. Whisper inwardly, I can rest in the glow. Repeat until you feel yourself relaxing, no longer pulled toward restless circling. One quirky Zen practice is the observation of insects in the dark. Monks may sit outside by lantern light, watching moths and fireflies, not judging, just noticing. They see their own minds reflected in the wings, flitting, circling, longing. In this observation, they learn to smile at their own cravings. A reflective question arises. What are you circling tonight? Is it a thought? A memory? A longing that keeps pulling you back? What would happen if you stopped flying into the flame and simply enjoyed the light from where you are? Picture yourself in a moonlit courtyard. Lanterns glow along a stone path. Moths circle some lights, but you sit quietly apart, breathing. The glow warms your face without burning. You feel no need to chase, no need to cling. The night becomes a companion, not a trap. Modern life often pushes us to circle endlessly, checking messages, seeking validation, craving more. But Zen whispers, rest. You don't need to crash into the flame to feel warmth. So tonight, when desire stirs, imagine the lantern moths. Watch them circle. Then choose your seat in stillness. The glow is already here. Peace is already yours. The potter's wheel turns steadily, a rhythm of creation and release. In a small village, a Zen monk once visited a potter. The clay spun under the potter's hands, shaping into bowls and jars. Sometimes the clay rose tall, sometimes it collapsed. The potter did not curse the failures or cling to the successes. He simply pressed, shaped, and began again. Watching quietly, the monk whispered, "This wheel is the teaching of detachment." Life often feels like a spinning wheel. We try to shape outcomes, our work, relationships, even our sense of self. But no matter how carefully we press, not everything comes out the way we expect. When we cling to control, frustration grows. When we release that grip, we find rhythm instead of struggle. A Zen story tells of a student who grew angry when his clay collapsed again and again. His teacher placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "The clay is not stubborn. You are. Let your hands follow, not command." The student learned that harmony with the wheel brought better shapes than force. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale. Picture a wheel spinning slowly in your chest. Exhale. Imagine your hands resting lightly on the clay. Whisper inwardly, "I guide, I release." Repeat until your breath feels like the turning of the wheel, steady, unhurried, beyond your need to control. One quirky Zen exercise involves monks working with clay only to later dissolve their creations back into earth. The point is not the pot, but the practice. Just as rain softens hardened ground, letting go of results softens the heart. A reflective question arises. What are you trying too hard to shape tonight? Could it take its form more naturally if you loosened your grip? Picture yourself in a dim workshop, lantern light glowing on spinning clay. The wheel hums, steady and patient. You press your hands gently, and a vessel rises. Then you ease your touch, and if it collapses, you smile. Another lump of clay awaits, another turn of the wheel. Nothing is wasted. Every motion is practice, every shape a step. Modern life often tells us to control everything, plans, outcomes, even feelings. But Zen offers the potter's wheel. Spin with rhythm, guide with gentleness, and accept what rises or falls. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, release the need to shape every detail. Rest your hands lightly. Let the wheel turn, and discover how peace forms naturally when you no longer force it. The temple with open doors teaches us about meeting emotions without clinging or shutting them out. Picture a great wooden hall in the mountains, its wide doors unbarred. Wind drifts in carrying the smell of pine. Birds sometimes hop across the threshold. Villagers enter to bow or light incense. The temple accepts it all, but holds on to nothing. Each visitor eventually departs, and the hall remains spacious. Our minds are like that temple. Emotions come: anger, joy, worry, grief. If we slam the doors shut, we trap ourselves in cold silence. If we cling too tightly, we fill the space so crowded that no peace can remain. Detachment is the middle way. Open the doors, greet each emotion with respect, then allow it to pass when its time is done. A Zen story tells of a monk asked how he handled sorrow. He replied, "I set a cushion for it, serve it tea, and watch until it bows and leaves." The parable is gentle but clear. Resisting sorrow binds it tighter, but acknowledging it allows release. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine a wide temple door opening in your chest. Exhale, picture an emotion stepping inside, perhaps worry, perhaps weariness. Whisper inwardly, "You may sit here." Inhale again. Exhale, and imagine the emotion bowing and stepping back out. Repeat until your inner hall feels spacious and clear. One quirky Zen practice involves monks sweeping the temple floor at dawn, even when no dust is visible. They say, "The dust comes every day, but it does not stay." This ritual is a reminder that emotions too arrive daily, but need not stain the hall. A reflective question arises. What emotions have you been barring at the door, afraid to let in? What would happen if you welcomed them briefly, without making them permanent guests? Picture yourself standing in a lantern-lit hall. The doors are open, night air drifting through. A breeze enters, a bird sings, then both leave. The hall remains serene, its silence deeper for the visitors that passed. Modern life often trains us to deny emotions or drown in them. But Zen shows another path. Doors open, heart calm, guests welcomed and released. So tonight, if feelings knock at your door, don't barricade and don't cling. Open the doors of your inner temple. Let them enter, let them bow, and let them go. Snow on the pine branch offers a lesson in how burdens release themselves when the time is right. Picture a tall pine standing still in winter. Snow falls steadily, clinging to its branches. The weight bends them low, heavy and strained. Yet the pine does not shake itself or resist. It simply stands, patient. When the sun rises, warmth melts the snow, and clumps slide off in soft cascades. The branches rise again, free. Detachment is like that pine. We often try to force the weight off, pushing away sadness, shaking off anger, fighting against worry. But the harder we struggle, the tighter the burden clings. When we soften, breathe, and allow time's warmth to touch us, the heaviness often releases on its own. A Zen story tells of a monk who trudged through snow carrying firewood. Another monk laughed. "Why not shake the snow off your robe?" The first replied, "The sun will do it soon enough." His calm smile revealed a deeper truth. Sometimes patience is more powerful than struggle. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, picture snow resting on your shoulders. Exhale, imagine the warmth of your breath melting a little of it away. Whisper inwardly, "It will pass." Repeat, allowing each breath to soften the weight until you feel lighter. One quirky Zen tradition is winter meditation outdoors, monks sitting beneath snowfall. They do not resist the cold, nor try to brush it away. They sit still, watching snow accumulate, then watching it melt. This endurance teaches them how all burdens shift naturally with time. A reflective question arises. What weight are you trying too hard to throw off tonight? Could it lighten on its own if you gave it space and patience? Picture yourself in a pine forest under moonlight. Snow piles on branches above, glowing silver. A breeze stirs, and clumps tumble softly to the ground. The air is cold, but peaceful. You realize the branches did not need to fight. The release came naturally. Modern life urges us to fix everything instantly, to push away discomfort. But Zen whispers, some burdens melt when you stop struggling. So tonight, if heaviness rests on you, breathe gently and wait for warmth. Let the snow slide off in its time. Trust that the branch of your heart will rise again. The hermit's bell teaches us how ordinary sounds can guide the heart back to presence. In a remote mountain hut, a solitary hermit hung a small bronze bell outside his door. He tied it with a cord so the wind could ring it. When his thoughts grew heavy or his mind wandered, the faint chime reminded him to return, to breathe, to let go of the weight he was carrying. Detachment often comes not from great effort, but from gentle reminders. Like the bell, small moments, wind in the trees, the hum of a fan, the ticking of a clock, can call us back to awareness. Each sound can be an invitation. Let it go. Rest here. A Zen story tells of a young monk who asked his teacher how to stop clinging to his thoughts. The teacher handed him a bell and said, "Ring this each time you notice your mind wander." The monk did, again and again. In time, he laughed, realizing the bell did not stop the thoughts. It reminded him not to be trapped by them. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine a small bell inside your chest. Exhale, hear it ring softly in your mind. Whisper inwardly, return. Each time a thought pulls you away, imagine the bell chiming, calling you gently back. Repeat until the sound feels like a lullaby. One quirky Zen tradition is to ring bells at unexpected hours. Monks might be sweeping or cooking when the bell sounds, and instantly they pause, just one breath of stillness before resuming. It is a way of training the mind to release clinging at any moment. A reflective question arises. What everyday sound in your life could be your bell? Could the hum of your refrigerator or the soft click of your clock become reminders to loosen your grip? Picture yourself in a mountain hut beneath the stars. The air is crisp, pine-scented. A breeze stirs, and the bell outside your door rings faintly. Clear, gentle fading. With each chime, your chest feels lighter, your breath slower, your mind softer. The night deepens into calm. Modern life often fills silence with noise, leaving no space for listening. But Zen reminds us, one small bell can return us to peace. So tonight, if your thoughts feel loud, imagine the hermit's bell. Let it ring inside you with each breath, guiding you back to stillness. The mirror of the moonlit lake shows us how thoughts can be seen clearly without clinging to them. Imagine standing at the edge of a still lake at night. The moon hangs above, casting its reflection across the surface. When the water is calm, the image is sharp and beautiful. When the wind stirs or stones are tossed, ripples distort it. Yet the moon itself remains untouched in the sky. Detachment is learning to see thoughts like reflections on water. They may appear vivid, faces of people, old memories, restless worries, but they are not solid. They come and go with the ripples of the mind. When you mistake them for truth, you suffer. When you see them as reflections only, you rest more deeply. A Zen story tells of a monk who asked his teacher why he could not stop disturbing thoughts. The teacher pointed to a lake and said, "You cannot stop the wind, but you can stop throwing stones." The monk understood. He didn't need to silence the world, only his habit of stirring it further. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, picture a lake forming inside your chest, wide and calm. Exhale, imagine the moon reflecting upon it. Whisper inwardly, I am the still water." Each time a thought arises, see it as a ripple, appearing, shifting, fading, while the reflection of peace remains. One quirky Zen practice is to meditate by water at night, staring not at the moon itself, but at its reflection. the subtle distortions become lessons in impermanence, reminding the meditator that appearances change, but essence endures. A reflective question arises. What if your restless thoughts are only ripples, not the moon? Could it be that your true self is as steady as the night sky? Picture yourself now at a quiet lake's edge. Lanterns flicker behind you, casting faint light on the water. The surface ripples briefly, then stills, and the moon shines clearly once more. You breathe slowly, watching the calm return after each movement. Modern life often treats thoughts as absolute truth. Every worry must be solved. Every memory must be replayed. But Zen offers another view. Thoughts are reflections, not reality. So tonight, if your mind feels crowded, imagine the moonlit lake. Watch the ripples, let them fade, and rest in the stillness that reveals the steady light above. The sand mandala carries one of the clearest lessons on letting go. In a temple hall, monks kneel for days, sometimes weeks, pouring colored sand into intricate patterns. Every grain is placed with precision. Spirals, blossoms, shapes of the cosmos unfolding beneath their hands. Visitors marvel at the beauty, whispering in awe. And then, when the final stroke is complete, the monks bow and sweep the whole design away. The sand is gathered, carried to a river, and poured into flowing water. The beauty lives on only in memory. This ritual shows the heart of detachment. Effort and care are real. Beauty and meaning are real. But clinging, demanding that they stay, creates suffering. The mandala teaches that we can give our best, create with love, and then release without regret. A Zen story tells of a young monk who wept when his first mandala was swept away. His teacher said, "You are not crying for the sand. You are crying because you thought beauty belonged to you." Slowly, the monk learned to love the act of creation itself, not its permanence. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine a small circle of sand before you. Exhale, picture yourself brushing it gently away with your hand. Whisper inwardly, "I release." Repeat until your chest feels lighter, as though you've let go of something precious without losing its meaning. One quirky practice in some Zen communities is to write calligraphy with water on stone. Characters appear dark for a moment, then vanish as the water dries. The act is full of care, yet the result is destined to fade. It's another reminder that impermanence can be cherished, not feared. A reflective question arises. What mandala have you built in your own life? Something you worked hard to shape that now asks to be released. Could letting it go bring peace rather than loss? Picture yourself in a lantern-lit hall. Sand glitters on the floor, patterns stretching like stars. Then monks sweep gently, brushes whispering across the ground. The design dissolves, but instead of sorrow, you feel wonder. The air seems lighter, as if space itself has opened. Modern life pushes us to preserve. Photos, records, endless storage. But Zen shows us the mandala. Beauty can live in memory, in the heart, without being held forever. So tonight, when the mind clings, remember the sand mandala. Breathe, create an imagination, and then sweep it away. Notice how rest comes when you no longer demand permanence from what was always meant to change. The return to the quiet path is the natural end of every journey. Imagine a winding trail through the forest, lanterns glowing faintly along its bends. You've walked past rivers and bridges, gardens and temples, each offering its teaching. Now the path grows simpler, just earth underfoot, trees whispering above, moonlight spilling through the branches. The quiet is no longer empty. It is full of everything you've learned, yet light as air. Detachment feels like this path. At first, it seems difficult, letting go of anger, possessions, roles, or desires. But over time, release becomes less about effort and more about returning to what was always here, a calm ground to rest upon. The Buddha once described peace as not adding or taking away, but simply allowing things to be as they are. When we stop grasping, the path beneath us feels steady again. A Zen story tells of a pilgrim who asked when his journey would end. A monk replied, "When your feet stop hurrying." The pilgrim laughed, but later realized the truth. Peace is not at the end of the path, but in each unhurried step. Here is a practice for tonight. Inhale, imagine yourself walking slowly on a forest path. Exhale, feel your shoulders drop, your breath deepen. Whisper inwardly, "Quiet path." Repeat until your whole body feels as if it is moving in rhythm with the earth. One quirky Zen practice is kinhin, slow walking meditation. Monks walk in circles for hours, each step placed carefully, each breath in sync. Sometimes they stop entirely, bow, and continue, as if bowing to the very ground that carries them. You can imagine this now. Each breath a step, each step a return. A reflective question arises. What are you still hurrying toward tonight? could the quiet path already be beneath your feet, waiting only for you to notice? Picture yourself now on that forest trail. Lanterns glow low, fireflies drift, the night air cool on your skin. No destination presses. You walk slowly, then pause. The silence feels alive, the stillness kind. The path does not demand effort. It only asks that you rest into it. Modern life often teaches us to chase endlessly, as though peace is always one more achievement away. But Zen offers this path. Peace is here, in the unhurried step, in the letting go. So tonight, return to the quiet path. Walk in your breath, rest in your heart, and let every weight fall away. Now the teachings soften, like lanterns fading at the end of a festival. You've walked through gardens of butterflies and ponds of lotus leaves, across bridges without footprints, past temples with open doors. Each image has pointed toward the same truth. You do not need to hold so tightly. Peace is found not in gripping, but in resting gently, like snow that melts when the sun rises. As your breath slows, notice how your body is already letting go. Shoulders sink into the bed. Hands grow heavy at your sides. Your jaw loosens. Your eyes rest softly closed. The weight you carried through the day begins to slide away, like raindrops rolling from a lotus leaf. Imagine once more the quiet path under moonlight. The trees lean in close, but only to shelter you. The earth beneath you feels steady and safe. Each step becomes slower until you no longer need to walk at all. You simply stand, breathing, surrounded by stillness. The mind may still offer a few last thoughts, like moths circling a lantern, but even they grow tired, their wings folding as they rest in the dark. One by one, they settle, and only the glow remains. Breathe deeply now. Inhale, letting cool night air fill you. Exhale, letting every trace of tension dissolve. Feel how calm was always waiting here, beneath the noise, beneath the rolls, beneath the clinging. You have come home to yourself. And as you drift, let this final whisper settle in your heart. Peace is not something you chase, but something you uncover by letting go. The quiet is here. The path is here. And you are already resting deeply upon it.